I want you to live your life today like it's your last day tomorrow. I'm going to say that again. I want you to live your life today like your last day is tomorrow. And if your last day was tomorrow, what are the things that you would be doing today? Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with a special edition episode. It's just me today. It's just me because I had some thoughts that I wanted to be able to share. But I want to start with a question. What is one experience, what is one story that really shaped the rest of your life? And if you could go back and change everything, what would that story be? What would the new story be? Because a lot of times what we've recognized as we look 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, right? Or even 2 years later, we look at that decision that we made. We look at that story that was shaped. We look at that experience that even shaped us. And if we would have done one thing differently, if we would have acted with our intuition, if we would have trusted that gut, if we would have followed our discernment, then who would we be? I think for me, as I was reflecting this morning, my story was losing my first son. And it's interesting because I was super excited. Just imagine the feeling of preparing for something for 9 months. And on the 2 days before the big day. So imagine if you're planning that conference for 9 months. Imagine if you're planning that campaign for 9 months. Imagine if you're planning something for 9 months. And 2 days before the big election, 2 days before the big event, 2 days before the biggest birth of your life, and you're driving, you get the call that it's time. It's almost time. The dress rehearsal is time. The time to give birth to whether it's that person or that dream. And upon your arrival, a doctor meets you in the hallway and says he or she didn't make it. That was my story in 2015, February 15th, 2015. And one thing that I've recognized is that life, it's precious. Life is short. And the person that I am today was definitely shaped by that moment 6 years ago. And what I realized at that moment is that I had a conversation with God privately about 2 or 3 days after that. And I said, God, if you were ever to grant me with another child again, if you were ever to bless me enough and trust me enough or love me enough to be able to make me a father, not just a mentor, not just a coach, not just an educator for so many students throughout this period of time, but if you were ever to help me become a father and allow me that privilege, that I wouldn't let you down. Fast forward 5 years later, I have a son, my absolute world, the person that has really been able to shape me to become the person that I am today, patience-wise, integrity-wise, character-wise, and has helped accelerate my life in ways that I never thought was even possible. And it's interesting because so many things that we feel like we've lost plants the seed for life to grow in other forms. And I want you to think about, as you're listening to this podcast, what is something that you lost? What is something that you sacrificed? What is something that you thought ended, but it allowed something else to begin in another form, in another way? I want you to be able to reimagine yourself. And as we continue, because for years, I never thought that I mattered. I never thought that I was worthy enough of children. I never thought that I was worthy enough of love. I never thought that I was worthy enough to be the person that I envisioned for myself years later. But what I realized is that I wasn't. And all of my past decisions created the current person. All of your past decisions put you in the place where you are in your present. You are exactly where you not supposed to be. You are exactly where you put yourself based upon your decisions. If you are not where you want to be financially, it's your fault. If you are not where you want to be in your relationship, it's your fault. If you're not where you want to be in your career, it's your fault. And as we continue to take accountability, as we take inventory of our actions, as we take accountability for our decisions, as we take accountability of the things that we've allowed in our lives, I want you to take accountability for the next season. If I was to determine or define this season that I'm currently in, What word would I use? What word would I use to really describe where I am right now? I think the season that I'm currently in as an individual, right, is the cleaning season. You know that moment before your parents come? It's like you buy a new house and you have kids, so your house is probably always a wreck. And your parents tell you that they're coming that weekend, and you procrastinate. And the day of their arrival, you're like scrambling and cleaning up the house, taking out the trash, and doing all of these different things. That is my season right now. Because I do believe that God has spoken to me in so many different ways, and he's on his way. He's on his way to be able to see me in my home where I was supposed to have prepared for him. And he's coming to see if that blessing that I prayed for years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, he's coming to see if my home is ready for him to be able to provide me with the things that I asked for years ago. And I want you to think about that image. I want you to think about that image and that feeling of if your parents were to arrive at that home and you didn't take the time to clean up, if you didn't take the time to straighten up, if you didn't take the time to roll out the red carpet for them, how would they feel? I feel like it's kind of a slap in the face. Everything that your parents have done for you, you didn't take the time to vacuum. You didn't take the time to put the clothes away. You didn't take the time to prepare the guest bedroom for them. I want you to have that same energy when you're thinking about God being able to come into your home and bless it, coming into your business and blessing it, coming into your relationship and blessing it. What are some things? What are some activities, like we continue to talk about? What are some decisions that you have to make? Where are some areas in your life where you have to clean so that when that blessing comes, you're ready for it? When that person comes, you're ready for it. When that opportunity comes, you're ready for it. I believe where it starts is understanding what you want. Understanding your vision. Understanding, because we all talk about reverse engineering it and just working backwards. But I don't think we're really intentional about what we actually want. We focus so much on vision boards. We cut out all of these magazine pictures and all of these different things. But the reality of a magazine picture is that that's not your vision. That's just something that you like, something that you see, but that's not something that you created. Even if you cut out a car in a magazine, is that the exact specs that you want in the car? What if that car didn't have an engine? What if that car was Photoshopped? See, a lot of us are seeing things. A lot of us are seeing things that aren't even real, that were manufactured to be able to put into magazines, that are manufactured to be able to put on Instagram, that are manufactured to be able to put on television. And that's what you're trying to gain in your life. That is what you're trying to acquire. I want you today to envision your vision. And I want it to be so clear and concise. I want it to be so specific that you can literally see it. And you could literally hold it in your hand, because if I believe if you can see it in your mind, that you can hold it in your hand. I have seen my current life 5 to 10 years ago. Freedom, entrepreneur, full-time, super successful, acknowledged, recognized, the opportunity to speak on different platforms, the opportunity to be someone in the community that is respected. I've seen it. But I've also seen today where I'm supposed to be 10 years from now. What I want you to do right now, and I want you to pause the episode after I give you this. What I want you to do is I want you to write down your vision. I want you to write down all of the things that you want. Who are you 5 years from now? Who are you as that woman? What do you drive? What exactly are you driving? What are you listening to? I want you to close your eyes and fast forward 5 years. What are you listening to on that car ride? If you're on your way home, what are you arriving to? Is it an apartment? Is it a condo? Is it a place on the beach that you want, but you haven't worked towards? What do you really want? I want you to write it down, and then I want you to go online and create your car. I want you to go to the Jaguar website. I want you to go to the Maserati website. I want you to go to the Lamborghini website or to the Honda website, whatever is your speed. And I want you to create your car. I want you to create the specs, and I want you to put down the price on that vision board. I want you to print it out and put down the price on that vision board. And then I want you to build your house. I want you to go pay $1,000 for an architect to custom build your home. What do you want? Where's your bathrooms? When you drive up, what does it look like? And then I want you to go work with someone and figure out what is the cost of that home? What is the price? What is the price? I want you to write down your dream relationship. What does he do? What does she do? What does that person do for a living? How much money do you have in your account? How much money do you have in your account? Who are you banking with at this time? What investments do you have? Who are you? What does your assets look like? What buildings do you own? I want you to write this down. And the one word that matters most after you write all this down is the price. And it's not necessarily the financial price, because I think that, and shout out to Jay-Z for being on the Drake album, because one thing that he said in the Love Talk song is everybody knows the cost of something. Everybody knows the cost of everything but the value of nothing. And in this specific example, you know the price of that car, you know the price of that house, you know all of the different things that are going to come with that dream relationship. But do you really know the value that you're going to have to bring to the table? Do you really know the responsibilities that it's going to take to be able to acquire that? You say you want that commercial building, you say you want that event space, you say you want to drive that dream car, but what are you doing now? What are all of the actions right now that are going to help you acquire that specific thing? You have to reverse engineer it, and you have to hold yourself accountable. Remember when I said earlier that who you are today is based upon your past experiences, your past activity? Well, who you're going to become in that next 5 years is based upon the things that you do today. See, the trees that we see outside were planted 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. What seeds are you planting right now that's going to offer shade for the next generation in 20 years? See, if we continue to focus on the opportunity or even the selfish act of wanting to do it tomorrow, or starting something next week, or I'm going to work on this eventually. Well, what if eventually didn't come? I was on the phone with someone a few weeks ago and I asked her a question. I said, hey, if your voice stopped working today, I mean that thing that you use every day when you're giving advice, when you're talking to friends, when you're telling people you love them, when you're teaching people or providing some type of communication. If it stopped working today, what have you built? What have you built that can be able to speak for you? What is it? Is it a book? Because you can't pass down buildings. Yeah, actually you can, in a trust. But you can't. What is a building going to teach you? You could pass down money. What's that going to teach your kid? You can pass down assets, but how is that going to teach your kid? I think it's a statistic that says after 3 or 4 generations, if you grew up wealthy, I think it's a statistic, don't quote me on here, but after 3 or 4 generations, your kids will be broke, essentially, if you grew up wealthy or privileged. As that person that is trying to listen right now, that is listening right now, that's focused so much on building wealth, creating assets, creating this idea of generational wealth, I don't want you to just pass down buildings. I don't want you to just pass down real estate. I don't want you to just pass down assets and cash and all of these different things. I don't want you to pass down that type of wealth. I want you to pass down information. I want you to pass down wisdom. And the only way that you could really pass down wisdom is first being able to understand what you've experienced. Understand what you're currently experiencing and understand what the experiences is that you want to be able to create with your family. I don't think that I'm going to give my kids any money when I die. I've come to that conclusion. I don't. I think that they're going to be taken care of. I think that they're going to have a safety net around them and they're going to have a wall around them so that they're going to be able to choose the life that they want to live. And I'm going to provide for them in other ways. But I believe that I want to be able to pass down much more, whether it's this podcast and all of the information that we share on here, whether it's that book, whether it's that course, whether it's that information that you could be able to pass down to that person. It's all about the price. It's all about the price, because I don't want my kids to be wealthy in assets, but be empty in activity or the ability to achieve the very goals and very dreams and very vision that God put them onto this earth to accomplish, because they lacked the what? The information. As you're thinking about your dream, as you're thinking about your goal, as you're thinking about your life, what was that story that shaped you? Because when I lost Braxton in February 15th of 2015, I didn't just lose a person, I lost a sense of purpose. And how many of us on this podcast, how many of us are listening right now that you went through a tough breakup? You maybe lost a family member. you lost an opportunity. You maybe lost a job that you were so invested in, and it didn't just feel like a loss. It felt like something in your spirit was taken from you. What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now to be able to fill not your cup back up, but fill your spirit back up? Fill your spirit back up. I want you to think through it. I want you to think through all of the different things that you need to do, all of the things that you want to be able to commit to, all of the different things that you said you were going to do years ago. You said you were going to do last week. You said you were going to do next month, but it still hasn't gotten done. You said you were going to do it yesterday, but yesterday that you committed to doing it, we're 3 years past. I want you to live your life today like it's your last day tomorrow. I'm going to say that again. I want you to live your life today like your last day is tomorrow. And if your last day was tomorrow, what are the things that you would be doing today? How will you be getting your affairs in order today? Will you start that business? Will you write that standard operating procedure? Will you tell that person that you love them? Will you tell that person how you honestly felt so that you could be able to move on? What are the things that you're holding on to? Because one thing that I've realized is that if you were to land on a plane, of course, and if you were getting everybody's baggage, and then you were taking all of the people's baggage from the plane that you were flying on, and you had an Uber waiting for you, you wouldn't be able to get into that car. You wouldn't. And the reason that you wouldn't, because the capacity in the vehicle that you're trying to get in is too small for all of the baggage that you're currently carrying. So you have to ask yourself, with the vehicle that you're trying to get in, to be able to get to your destination, to be able to get to that dream, to be able to get to that relationship, to be able to get to that opportunity, to be able to get better in that, whatever that thing is, what baggage are you holding on to? I need you to let go of the pain that your father caused. I need you to let go of the pain that your mother caused. I need you to let go of the pain that person caused because they didn't meet your expectation, because they broke your heart, because they weren't there. They weren't there. But who can you have in your life right now? What can you be able to pour into your life right now? Like I said earlier, pour into your spirit. Pour into your spirit. I want you to not think about how do I get through this, or how do I get over this, or how can I get better at this? I want you to figure out, who do you need in your life? I read a book by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, Who Not How. And in this book, it talks about this concept of understanding the who's that we need in our life to pull off the big win. See, in my life, I could literally count on probably not 2 hands, probably like 4 or 5 hands, all of the people that have instilled so much in me. Whether it was having my back, whether it was providing an opportunity, whether it was giving access to information, whether it was allowing me to be in a room. I think about the who's more than the hows. I think about the who's that allowed me to accomplish the things that I accomplished. You are not self-made. You're not. You just are selfish, and you don't give credit to the people that provided a pathway for you to be able to get one step closer to your purpose. I want you to identify the who's. Right now. Again, I want you to pause the podcast. Who are 5 people in your life that you need? And it's not always the mom. Outside of your parents, of course, outside of your parents or your brother and sister, who are 3 to 4 people that you need right now in your life? You think about your gaps. Think about the things that you struggle with. Maybe you struggle with anxiety. Maybe you struggle with communication. Maybe you struggle with your ability to stand up and speak publicly. Maybe you struggle with money management. Maybe you struggle with time management. Whatever those things are, I want you to write down 3 to 4 things that you really struggle with in your life. And then I want you to identify, where are the people that can be able to help you with those things. Do they have a specific job title? Are they coaches? Is it a mentor? And I want us to first stop allowing everybody to be our mentor. Can we stop? I need us to normalize the saying no to everybody being our mentor. Because if that person hasn't accomplished what you're trying to accomplish, then they don't need to be mentoring you in that area. Now, I completely understand that people are good people, but I'm not going to a mechanic to help me build my house. I'm not going to a therapist to help me manage my money. I'm not going to a hairstylist to do my nails. That just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And I think there's a lot of people in this world that are going to the wrong people to be able to accomplish the very things that they need help with. And they wonder why they've been struggling with those same things for years. What do you need? Who do you need? And what are you willing to sacrifice? What is the price what is the cost costing you? The cost of not investing in yourself, the cost of not actually self-reflecting, the cost of not taking time with yourself is costing you your dream. It's costing you your ability to feel free. It's costing you everything. Everything. God sees you. Whether you want to believe it or not, whatever religion that you are a part of, God sees you. But I want to ask you, do you see you? I want to ask you, do you see what people see? And I want to give you something right now. Whatever people said that you could be, even if they said that you could be a doctor, even if they said that you could be an engineer, even if they said that you could be a professional athlete, I want you to 10x that by God. 10x it by God. Because if people, say that you could be these things, I can only imagine what God is doing behind the scenes. But he's waiting on you. He's waiting on you to actually work in your life so that he can work in your life. He's waiting on you. He's waiting on you to stop making excuses. He's waiting on you to stop feeling sorry for yourself. He's waiting on you to forgive yourself from the hurt, forgive yourself from the different things that you chose in that season. It's okay. I want to tell anybody that's listening right now that it is okay. It is. The things that you experience, it's fine. In that season that you were currently in, you felt like that was the best thing to do. You felt like staying in a relationship was the best thing to do. You felt like choosing that opportunity was the best thing to do. You felt like taking that job was the best thing to do in that season. You have to give yourself grace, and you have to give yourself grace so that you can receive grace, not just by others, but by God. So what I want us to do moving forward is I want us to identify the gaps within our lives. Identify the gaps within our lives. Yes, the gaps, because the gaps are, to define it, I want you to write down where you are right now. The things that you like about yourself, the things that you really don't really care for within your life. Then I want you to ask yourself, okay, just 12 months. We're not going to do 5 years because a lot of us can't even think about what we're going to do next week, let alone what we're going to do in the next hour. So I only want us to commit to a 12-month plan. I want you to identify, what does success look like in your life 12 months from now? 12 months. So you got today and you want to look at yourself 12 months from now. I want you to not write down just a bunch of materials that you want in 12 months. I want you to write down a bunch of things that you want to experience in 12 months. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up for yourself? How do you want to show up for the world? And then once you identify what you want to be able to become in 12 months, there's a lot of stuff in the middle. I call that the gap. The gap, I know, is called the transformative process. I don't care if you're a student listening to this, you're a professional listening to this, you're a CEO of a company. Everybody in their lives have gaps. Everybody. Everybody needs something. Everybody needs someone. So when you think about that gap in the middle, that transformative process that you need to go through to be able to get from point A, where you are now, to point B, where you want to be able to go, I need you to actually identify the steps. Identify the steps. Choose a mentor. I need everybody on here to have a mentor. Reach out to that person. Stop being shy. I want you to prioritize the things that you want to get better on, whether it's speaking, whether it's mental health, whether it's you want to be better in relationships, whether it's communication, whatever it is. What is the first thing that you got to do? Prioritize those things. Whether you come up with 3 things or 30 things, I want you to put them in order and priority so that you can feel that you're accomplishing things. I think it's Dave Ramsey. He has the snowball method when you're paying off your debt. I think it's pay the lowest thing first or the highest thing first and then go backwards. I don't know which one it is, but it doesn't make sense for people that actually are trying to build wealth. But it's a great concept, right? It's a great concept. So it's you take one debt and you pay off, I believe, the highest first, and then you go backwards. Is it that? Is it pay off the highest first, lowest first? All right, it doesn't matter. What I want you to do when you're thinking about your life and the things that you need to pay off, the debts that you owe the world, the debts that you owe the world, I want you to be able to pay those things off. I want you to be able to right your wrongs. I want you to be able to apologize to the people that you hurt. I want you to ask the people for help. I want you to invest in yourself. And I want you to just put your head down for 12 months. Make a commitment and actually stick to it. Because people can't commit anything to you if you're not willing to honor the commitments that you make to yourself. It just doesn't make sense. So I need you to commit to yourself for 12 months. And right now, 12 seconds after you finish this podcast, What do you need to do? What's the first thing you need to do 12 seconds after? That can help you set up your next 12 days. That can help you set up your next 12 weeks. That can help you set up your next 12 months. That's the 12, 12, 12, 12 rule. All right? So as you guys are thinking about everything that was shared today, a story of loss, a story of transformation, a story of self-reflection, self-awareness, and a story of commitment to a vision. We have all lost something, someone, and it shaped us. And you know, the reality of it is something is going to shake us before it shapes us. I'm going to say that again. Something is going to shake us before it shapes us. But if you stay shaken, you're never going to be shaped. So I need us to overcome the things that are holding us back from being able to have the opportunity to live life to the fullest. And I mean, really be free in life. Really be free. Just imagine the ability to be free. Just imagine not having to check your account before you make a purchase. Just imagine not having to feel weird inside, this gut feeling when you're sleeping next to someone at night. Just imagine being able to be free in your speech, being able to be free in yourself. I want you to imagine that freedom, and I want you to define freedom. I want you to write down on that paper, as you're going through your transformative process, what does freedom mean to you? Because security is not independence. And I need you to be independent. I need you to be free. I need you to acquire what God has in store for you. And whatever, again, people said that you can do, imagine what God is doing for you behind the scenes. This is Around the Way podcast, and I'll see you guys next episode.